We can put the game up, and I've done this. And look, I don't know where you guys are from, if you guys count alligators or if it's Mississippi's.
We didn't have like a complete passing package because everything was built off a run. Everything was complemented off of what we were running.
It was 4 Mississippi's. Look, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi.
Florida has lost its swag with football. When you played down in Florida, you thought that you were the greatest guys in the world.
3 Mississippi, Fort Flag.
That's a long time.
That's a long time.
The focal point was, hey, let's just beat Michigan.
Our mindset was, if we do what we're supposed to do, you can put anybody in front of us and we were gonna run through it.
Welcome to Start with the Facts.
All right, so that last 8 to 10 seconds, big deal, changed the lives of tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people, of fans, and obviously players down on the field. So quick reaction, DJ. Talk me through that 10 seconds and then the couple of minutes after. What was going through your head and your teammates' heads?
Shit, 20 plus years later, it still hurts, right? It still hurts. And like you mentioned, when I think about what it did for Miami and what it changed, we had the nation's longest winning streak, right? We were going to be the first team in the BCS Bowl era to go back-to-back. Just numerous things, right? I'll be honest. I had it all planned out. I was going to open up a sub shop across the street from Miami, call it 2 Ring Sub. Like, I had it all rolled out, man. And, you look at that play, and it's unfortunate, for a game that was that good of a game, that hard fought, to, I'll say, have that asterisk on it, right? And that's why we have this conversation today, right? What really happened? Was it a flag? Was it PI? All of those different things that happened. But again, man, I think that it was probably one of the worst calls in the history of college football.
Before we go to Maurice, how long was the gap of where you guys, in your mind, you won the game?
Yeah.
To, oh shit, there's a flag. What was that like?
I mean, look, it's obvious. We can put the game up, and I've done this. And look, I don't know where you guys are from, if you guys count alligators or if it's Mississippi's, but it was 4 Mississippi's. Look, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, Fort Flag.
That's a long time.
That's a long time. The fireworks went off.
Yeah, fireworks went off.
Several guys on our team threw their helmets up in celebration. Really pan back and look at the reaction of their team, of their guys.
Looks of defeat.
It's over, right? And again, there were all type of excuses that came out. Terry Porter, the flag got caught in my waistband and shit like that, man. But listen, the guy that's right there, spot on the ball, calls it over. 4 Mississippi's later, 4 alligators later. And listen, I'm not talking about 1 alley, 2 alley, 3 alley, 4 alley. Now I'm talking about 1 alligator, 2 alligator, 3 alligator, flag. Right? Some guys was almost in the shower, man, on their way, you know what I'm saying? Already in the shower, back in the locker room, and the flag came out, man.
Maurice, is that how you remember it?
It's the first time I've heard somebody talk about the Mississippi's and the alligators in regards to talking about the delay in the flag. So after that play, you have to remember, like, I was, the play was over, and I would be sitting here lying to say on the game, on that day, I remember that moment. I remember it better going to watch it from the TV copy and what happened after. So I don't want to lie and say, like, I would just remember I was in the moment and like I had these feelings because it's a lot going on. But obviously everybody thought the game was over. And then I don't remember if I remember a time. I just remember like there's a flag on the field. And so I didn't even remember which way the flag was. Like, I didn't know. I just knew it was a flag and the game needed to be continued, or they had to continue what we had going on. And at that point, it was a pass interference. And so I remember some of the Miami people, like what I can remember was he's correct when he said people had threw their helmets on the field because one of the guys' helmets had busted. I do remember vividly somebody picking the helmet up because the piece is flying out. I do remember that. I remember the coach's conversion on the field and guys coming off the sideline and getting ready to do that. I do remember the fireworks going off as if it was over, but you have to remember that game was like long, like 2-3 overtimes, and it was just like a long ass day.
Yep.
And I just remember to myself like, okay, we got an extension to the game. And just like when he talks about like things becoming different for the legacy and the history of Miami, like at that moment, like, we just thinking like, hey man, we have a chance to extend the game and we're about to go out here and try to win. So it was really that simple to me, you know what I'm saying? But oftentimes when people talk about this, I'm like, in this moment, like, I'm not thinking, is this a good call or a bad call? I play for Ohio State. I'm happy I get a chance.
Yeah, of course. It's a good call.
Listen to me. Like, because what people don't realize, like, it was 4th and long, like, the series before that, it was 4th and long, and then Michael Jenkins had caught a pass to advance it. Like, it was like a 12-yard pass, and then we came down again to 4th down, and then this was the second 4th down call. But it was fighting the whole game. It's like nobody had like any big movement, be it offense or defense on any side of the ball. You had big plays here and there, but it was just a long game. So just to even have an extension, like, okay, we can go out here and possibly have another chance at winning after this whole time. That's what I remember from just that play of the game.
And the rest goes down in history. Everybody knows, the outcome of that game is, Ohio State gets another chance. They end up winning in double overtime. I think there are dozens of stories that have been untold from the parallels between your recruitments from high school as 5-star recruits getting into Ohio State and Miami, and I want to dig into a little bit of that. Then the differences in the seasons, really the Yankees of college football with all these greats and future Pro Bowlers and first-round draft picks and Hall of Famers, and some really tight games throughout the season for Ohio State against Cincinnati, right? A drop pass away from losing to a Cincinnati Bearcats team, an overtime game against Illinois, and then what Ohio State fans remember in Holy Buckeye is one of the most memorable moments really in Ohio State history is just Purdue. Getting through Purdue. So a lot to dig into today, but I'm super excited because to my knowledge, this is the first time it's really ever been done with really, former 5-star recruits, big names in that game and sitting in the same room talking through some of the history. So DJ, I'd love to talk a little bit about your recruitment and then transition over to Maurice to talk about, I loved it yesterday when you told me how you ended up at Miami. That to me was super entertaining.
Yeah. So, coming out, I was the number 1 player in the country. I had my option to go just about anywhere. To the extent that I was getting letters from Yale and Harvard offering me track scholarships, right? I ran track, I played basketball as well, and it was a situation where it's like, look, we just got to get this guy on campus. Who knows, Maybe he's in the academics, maybe track is his first love. Going through that process, and I don't know what the process is now, but back then you used to have 5 official visits. Same thing? Yep. So, I picked my first 4, Florida State, Texas, Michigan, and I chose Cal, right? Hometown. I'm 20, 30 minutes around Cal. I didn't want to disrespect my hometown team like that, but, I think they went 1-10 and like 4-7 my juniors and senior year. So they really had no shot. I had 1 trip left. I tried to go to Hawaii. I was like, look, I'm about to get this free vacation. I'm going to try to see if my mama can go. We're going to try to hang out. We're going to do the game. You know what I'm saying, right? And my coaches knew, and they was like, look, you're not going to put a stain on the program. Because
and your coaches would be at De La Salle.
My coaches at De La Salle, yes, because back then, Hawaii made you verbally commit. So the plan was to just flat out lie, verbally commit, shock the world. DJ Williams is going to Hawaii, get this free trip with me and my mama. Probably the next day come back and decommit. So they threw that out the window. They said, that's not an option. So I told my coach, actually it was Coach Edson. I remember sitting in his office vividly. And I said, I want to go somewhere fun. And this is how things change, right? The recruiting and databases. He's like, what about Miami? I watched Miami on TV, but, you know, I wasn't a huge Hurricane fan. I knew a little bit about the legacy and the history, you know. I just always remember, like, them middle field fighting motherfuckers. I'm going to be honest. Like, I remember vividly them middle field fighting people. So I said, yeah. He pulls out a book. In this book, it had all universities, contact information. We open the book, find Miami. I call a woman named Miss Myrna, answers. Miss Myrna was a secretary for Schnellenberg in the 70s and early 80s. She was still there when I called in 2000 under Butch Davis. I'm hot shit, 17-year-old, number one kid in the country. Hey, this is DJ Williams. I want to come to Miami. She says, who? I'm like, this is DJ Williams. I want to come to Miami. How you spell it? Okay. This is DJ Williams. I want to come to Miami. She says, okay. She took my name, my number down, and hang up. I look at Coach Etz and he says, what happened? I said, she took my number down. I'm confused, right? I feel like I got shitted on. Like, how do you not know?
Oh, yeah.
How do you not know this kid? Within 20 minutes, I spoke to every coach in the facility, and Miami ended up being the first trip that I took out of my official visits. And they were just as shocked as I was. And they kind of gave me out, they rolled out the red carpet treatment. People know about Brian McKinney, and I got the BMAC experience. You know, I got to see all the lovely places that Miami has to offer. And, you know, I'll be honest, I left Miami. I had a girlfriend. And
Wait, on that visit. There we go.
I left Miami.
Love at first sight.
I remember at the end of the night, the rose guy, right? I got a rose. High school shit. I went home. I put it between a book to like fossilize it. But yeah, man. Miami didn't recruit me. So it was just a unique situation how I ended up there. You know, I looked at the other 4 universities. I really wanted to go. When you're young, you're impressionable. I really wanted to go to a team that had a white helmet. My father's from Amarillo, Texas. I wanted to go to Texas. I wasn't a fan of Mac Brown. I thought Florida State was near the beach. I know when I got there, we were in the woods. They took us to an after party, a place called the Moon or Suho's. I just know it was a Chinese buffet by day, lounge at night. Michigan made a mistake. They took me to the big house. It was me and several other recruits from the South, from Georgia, Florida, and California. They took us to the top of the stadium in February, tried to awe us, and all you heard was dudes talking about, damn, it's cold as hell up here. That guy got fired.
I would think so.
And, you know, again, Cal had no shot, man. And so after visiting Miami on my trip, that's when I really dove into the history and the lineage of the program and, you know, what they were at one point in time. And, you know, I pulled the trigger, had a great time with the guys. And I also wanted to go somewhere where it was a bunch of badass dudes, right?
Yeah.
Like, I was the number 1 recruit in the country. I was from California. You always hear California, Texas. Back then, California, Florida, Texas. Top dogs. Yeah. And I challenged myself, right? Like, if you are this dude that they talk about, you got to go where ball is played the best, the hardest. And so I challenged myself, man. I went to University of Miami, and it worked out.
Worked out super well for you. That's a cool story. So you reached out to them,
yes,
right? Maurice, tell us about your recruitment out of high school.
Very similar. Well, obviously the parallels, and I didn't know until yesterday, we both were the number 1 players in the country, right? So that was cool. And I was telling Brian that I knew who you were long before because I knew you was a running back, right? Yeah. So a lot of people know him as a linebacker. When you coming up and you're looking at who's out in the world in the country running the football, and obviously he comes from a historical high school, that if you're a fan of high school football, y'all won 1,000 state championships, right? And fucking been winning for forever, right? So we used to look at it USA Today and see that. But that's neither here nor there. But it was very similar. I was getting recruited my sophomore year, and, you know, you got recruited by, you know, your Notre Dames, your Indianas, your Michigans, your Penn States, and your schools within the Midwest. But nonetheless, to collapse and make a long story short, Ohio State didn't recruit me. But when I seen Jim Trussell, who had basically came from Youngstown State, when he came to Columbus, became the head coach, I said, hey, man, I want to go to Ohio State. And so I used to look at their games on TV and looked at the style of offense they ran and looked at the players who were playing ahead of me or who were playing ahead of me, who they had recruited. And I said that these guys aren't better doing that scheme because I'm doing the same scheme in high school. I say a very fortunate thing of mine, Tom McDaniels, who's Josh McDaniels' father, he taught me a lot of football in high school. So like all of the nuances, the film studying, just the preparation for games, I was doing a lot of stuff that they had been doing at Ohio State. And he used to tell me that I got a lot of this stuff from Youngstown State when Coach Trussell was here. And so I felt very comfortable looking at it. And so I called Ohio State up, and it was a spring. And I said, hey, man, I'm going to commit to Ohio State. And Coach Trussell said, man, well, we haven't offered you a scholarship. And I said, man, at the end of the year, you will. And so what ended up happening was over the first 3 or 4 games, I exploded onto the scene my senior year. Excuse me. And they got nervous. They start calling me back and said, hey, man, we're like, fuck, right? We really weren't prepared to even take you because we had taken 3 running backs the year before. So we didn't have the need for another running back. But since I had so much success and I was an in-state kid, they came knocking on the door like, man, let's make sure that you actually come here as a part of like you committing to us in the spring and us really not taking you serious until the season rolled around. So really I was never like a part of anybody's class. And then one thing that Ohio State inherited was the graduating early thing. So I actually went to, Notre Dame. So my original commitment was to Notre Dame. And at that time, and you know as well as I know, like to talk about going to the NFL wasn't like a normal thing. Yeah. Like guys weren't like, hey, I'm going to go to college and then go to the NFL. I used to think at one point, like, man, I'll go play college football. And, you know, Notre Dame at that point was on TV every week. And I thought like it'd be a cool thing to be on TV every week. And, you know, if I get an education, like I'll be great. You know, I'm pretty sure a lot of people thought like that, you know, just getting an education from a legitimate institution. And so what happened was I committed to Urban Meyer when he was there because he used to be a receivers coach there. And him and a dude by the name of Rex Hogan. Rex Hogan, he was an assistant general manager in the NFL for a while. But he was like a graduate assistant at the time at Notre Dame. And so they put me on the track to graduate early because I really wanted to forego my senior year at high school because I had done everything in high school my junior year. And so they said, well, you can't come your junior year, you can't come your senior year, but you can come at the start of January and basically get a spring ball in. And so through the course of them allowing me or helping me to graduate early my junior year, they got fired. Bob Davie was the head coach. He got fired. And once he got fired, excuse me, I said, hey, man, let me just go to Ohio State with Coach Trussell. And then that's basically how I landed at Ohio State.
It's kind of ironic that 2, former 5-star recruits like that really had to proactively reach out to end up in the home. You heavily recruited, but to end up where you'd ultimately call home and which would bring you guys back together the 2002 season, it was a reach out by you guys, which I find super interesting. And I don't think most people probably know that. So fast forward to 2002, what were your guys' expectations coming into the season of how that season would go and where you thought you'd end up?
Man, we were on autopilot, right? Like 30 plus games in a row. The confidence couldn't be higher, right? Coming off a national championship where we smashed Nebraska.
I remember.
Smashed Nebraska. like smashed Nebraska.
Where was that game, DJ? 2000
Rose Bowl.
Rose Bowl.
It was the Rose Bowl, right? Smashed Nebraska.
I watched it.
We still had a chip. Ironically, we still had a chip on our shoulder, right? Because teams would still do stuff like schedule us for homecoming, right? I remember that season, I believe we played Tennessee, and I just remember the announcers speaking, pre-game and talking about, Miami playing in the big SEC, intimidation. They just put in 5,000 new bleachers, like all these things that were going to, I guess they thought, affect us and how we played. But again, we had a team of guys where a lot of guys played young, and they played in high level games, right? So when you look at the Sean Taylors, when you look at the Antrell Rolls that ended up replacing Mike Rump and Ed Reed, these weren't new guys. These were guys that came in young as freshmen, were running down on kickoff, smashing cats, and actually, giving some of those older guys on our team a run for their money, right? So we were confident going in because, in Miami we have this this saying where, we just reload, right? It's one in the chamber behind you at all times. We're going to reload. We're going to reload. We're going to, these group of guys. And so we go into that year super duper confident, overdrive, out of drive. The relationship between coach and players, I don't think couldn't have been any better, to the point to where, the way we competed, I think it was second to none, right? Practices, coaches, players, guys getting in fights, just how much we competed, but in the locker room, we loved and cared for each other. And so we felt that if we took care of our job, which was getting in shape in the summer, right, staying out of trouble, right, and implementing each game plan each week, we would end up in a national championship game again.
And for the most part, you guys rolled through that season, I think excluding maybe a game against Florida State that was, competitive and close. Yeah. Outside of that, you guys pretty much punished everybody, right?
Yeah, we
Undefeated.
did. We had, and I think in all national championship runs, you have one or two games that are pretty scary, scary moments. I think we did have a 7-point win over a VTech, similar, those rivalry games, right? Those teams that you play year in, year out within your conference that kind of know you. But again, internally, we never felt like we were going to lose. So on paper, when you look at the score, it really probably was presented to people like, oh, Miami should have beat them by more points.
That's the storyline for sure.
Miami should have beat them by more points. I don't think that there was ever a point in time during the season, even within these close games, where we flinched or we were nervous. Even after those close games, usually coaches get tight asses and want to go back and tweak and fix a bunch of different things. They say no, right? Like, at the end of the day, you guys got to realize you guys are defending national champions. Coming into the season, everybody that you play, that is their national championship game. You guys are predicted to be in the big show again. So you're going to get everybody's best. And we did get everybody's best. A lot of times we knocked motherfuckers out, right? A lot of times we did, but there were about 2 or 3 games where, ball bounces wrong, a play or two are here, and the game was a lot closer than it should have been. But, we were confident and ready.
They would have had Kevin Jones around that time.
They had Kevin Jones around that time.
I was just thinking as you were talking.
The matter of fact, the year before when we went to the Rose Bowl, we ended up having to come back and beat VTech. And that option for us, if you get a good running quarterback, you put that option on people, and you get that DN have to make a decision, and linebackers are out of place a little bit. It's very, very tough to defend.
But that's it. And I don't want to defer from the thing, but that's even something to be said, that a team who's used to seeing you and playing you, they don't have that just the intimidation factor
at all.
Yeah, because we've seen them, we've played them, we've competed against them, we know each other, and so I just wanted to add that in there.
That's a good add. It's a good add. A little different than I'd say your freshman season.
Yeah.
How did that roll?
Oh, well, you just didn't have the same expectations. We started the season ranked 13th, and so. For anybody who starts any season ranked 13th, and I think we had just came off of a bowl loss at the Outback Bowl to South Carolina, you don't come into a situation having national championship aspirations. You know what I mean? Oh, yeah. Like at that point, you're just trying to say, hey, man, can we win the conference? Can we beat our rivalry? And can we go to a decent bowl? And those were the expectations. And so we had some momentum and happiness, but it was centered around the year before where Craig Krenzel had beat Michigan. And so we went through this series of not being able to beat Michigan. We go up to Michigan, we beat them on the road, and that was our national championship. That was like the epitome of it. And so then you come in and you don't know, you have this history of running backs who have been older. Now you're starting with a younger running back, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And then with Craig Krenzel, he's about to go out here and lead the team and lead the guys. Our defense was shored up. You had a lot more experience. You had just guys who had 20 or 30 college football games up under their belt. So they weren't really a question mark, but the offensive side of the ball where you didn't have receivers who had a bunch of experiences. So it just wasn't that. And, we ended up opening up with Texas Tech in the Pigskin Classic. And then once I had a great game, my first game, I had 175 yards and 3 touchdowns. That sort of set the stage of like, okay, at least we have a running game. You know what I'm saying? So we have a running game, and, a great running game allows your quarterback to now not feel like he has to make every decision or he has to basically go out and win a season because you have a couple complementary pieces. It even makes the job for the receivers easier because now they get the coverage that makes passing windows easier because now you have to adjust and keep people in the box because you have somebody doing that. And so for the first few games, we just had a bunch of success running the football. One of our big pivotal moments where, we were 13th or 11th or whatever it was, and Washington State happened to be like 4th or 5th, and we beat Washington State here at home. And that was like a confidence booster, but never was it like what he's talking about where we thought like, hey, man, we're about to go, win the national championship. Like that just wasn't a thought in our minds. And progressively how it went slower, I ended up basically having a meniscus tear in the Washington State game or the Indiana game, one of those games. I had a meniscus tear, so I had to sit out the following game, which was the Cincinnati game. And when we didn't have the running game and we struggled just with throwing the ball, we struggled against Cincinnati. And had it not been for a last-minute interception, we would have lost that game. But never, even through those first 3, 4, 5, or 6 games and then beating Cincinnati, it was never like, we're going to the national championship. Like that just wasn't a thought in the brain of any Ohio State fan. We were just happy to be winning.
Sure.
When you go through so many years of just being a middle-of-the-road Big Ten team, it wasn't like we was winning conferences. People were just happy to be winning. And then, you progressively go to Purdue. You have to figure Purdue isn't like, they're not a Miami. It's a Purdue. It's a conference game. But you fight hard and you go back and forth, but we still win on a 4th down play with Michael Jenkins catching the ball for what they label the play as Holy Buckeye. So then you have that. And again, you're still not thinking we're about to go to the national championship. And so and in college, what a lot of people don't know is that you need a lot of people to lose. I need DJ to lose. And this is a different era. I need this team to lose and that team to lose and this team to win and that team to win because the people you beat and the record that they have and then who they go out and lose to predicts on how you're going to be measured. And so we would progressively go through the season and we just start chipping away and we start winning. And then last we had a game in Illinois. It was cold as shit and we ended up winning in overtime. We wanted a last second overtime run. And so then we're getting ready to go play Michigan, but it was never a discussion before the game that, hey, man, if y'all go beat Michigan this game, you're going to go win the national championship. The focal point was, hey, let's just beat Michigan. You know what I'm saying? Yep. And the game was, you got to remember, we won 14-9 or 13-9, something like that. But that game was so tight that even the moment of us winning, I'm telling you, like, I was fucking on the field playing the game. Like, there was never a time where people were looking at each other like, oh, man, we're about to go to the national championship. We were so consumed with just beating these motherfuckers. You know what I'm saying? Because they had a history of winning. But then after it happened, and just for context, man, you have to take everything to the times and eras that you came in. Maybe in Miami, it was like a normal thing to say, man, let's go to the national championship because we were used to winning, and then you go and beat somebody's ass. But it was almost like the national championship was just this distant thing. You know what I'm saying? That you were just...
Because the previous national championship was when?
1968.
1968, okay.
Yeah, so you don't think about, like, you just don't think about things in that manner where, like, we're going to the national championship. But after we got done, and then, everybody rushed the field and you see all these Tostitos Fiestas bag, we're like, okay, we're going to the national championship. But there was never a time, like, just the paths of how we got there, there was never a time like, man, we're about to go to the national championship. We have national championship aspirations. And nor did we have... We just didn't have the celebrity that maybe they had that would bring the media or the expectation of like, this is where we're going. And I'm not saying it has anything to do with that in particular, but that just wasn't the expectation when we started the season, nor as we were going through the season, there was nowhere along the way that was like, this is what's about to happen.
Yep, I get it. All right, so Maurice, fresh off of a victory there against Michigan, and DJ, now you know you're going to be playing Ohio State in Tempe, Arizona, Fiesta Bowl National Championship. Thoughts that go through in you and your teammates' minds?
We didn't know until we literally knew. And by that meaning, we were laser-like focused on handling our business, right? Like, there was never a point in time where we looked at the polls, looked at individuals moving up, slotting. To be honest, probably the only game where we really focused and never thought on every year was that Florida State game, right? That in-state rivalry. A lot of guys on my team, played Pop Warner, Optimist together, went to high school together. Besides that, our mindset was, if we do what we're supposed to do, you can put anybody in front of us, and we were going to run through them. So it wasn't like I even knew about what Clarett was doing prior probably to the week that it gets announced on who we're playing. And that's how we approached every game, right? We never looked at anybody. We never paid attention. It's like, okay, Ohio State, game plan, let's see it. Okay, check it out. Here's what we got to take care of. Offense, defense, special teams, boom, let's go ahead and run it. So, and again, some people might look at that like as overly confident, but we mentioned it, the talent that we had on our team, again.
Talk about it.
The
talent at top to bottom, crazy.
Top to bottom talent that we had on our team, let's just go for the secondary, right? Our secondary at that point in time was Sean Taylor, Antrell Roll, Kelly Jennings. All went first round, right? Our linebackers were Jonathan Vilma, myself, both went first round. Roger McIntosh, third round pick. Our D-line was Jerome McDougal, first round pick. William Joseph, first round pick, right? We had Matt Walters. Vince, backup, first round pick, right? And then you go to Andrew Williams and Jamal Green, third, fourth round picks, right? Like, just pretty loaded. And then you go to the offense side of the ball. You look at Andre Johnson, right? Hall of Famer, right? He has a gold jacket. Vernon Carey on the offensive line was a first round pick. You go Willis McGahee was a first round pick. Kellen Winslow was a first round pick. And then you got skill set guys like Roscoe Parrish, Jared Payton's of the world. Like, we were loaded, and we knew that.
Keep it real, Ken Dorsey was holding it down.
So here's the thing about Ken Dorsey, and a lot of people don't give him the respect that he deserves. You talk about a guy that was dialed in. Like, when you're a quarterback, it's almost like being the president. Like, everybody, you got to kiss the babies, you got to have relationships. You got to be able to talk to the D-line, sit at the table with the receivers, chill with the linebackers. And Dorsey was that guy. As weird and nerdy and stringy kid as him, he had this little rowdy shit about him. He was kind of like Tom Brady does often, right? Buck back and whatever, because he knew we was going to ride. Never flinch. You talk about a guy, his entire time there, film study at the same time, same lunch, getting guys together, galvanizing guys, and he was smart. I'm going to get the ball to my athletes, right? If you got a Santana Moss, if you got Reggie Wayne, you got Roscoe, Andre, Jeremy Shockey, Kellen Winslow, Willis McGahee, Portis, like Frank Gore. Look, I'm getting these 5-yard dumps, and they're going to do what they do, right? But then also when it was time for him to fit one in, he had the confidence to do so. And so, I don't think that he gets the respect that he deserves, right? Because of, maybe what his career was like in the pros. He went to the Browns. Like, what are we talking about?
Yeah, that's not on him.
He went to the Browns, right? But we see it now. Yeah. Offensive mind.
That's correct.
Right? Who got Josh Allen over the hump?
Yeah, him.
Right?
Yeah.
Hold on. Who was there in Cam Newton's ear? Right?
I don't know he was with Cam Newton.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know he's with the Browns. Then he went.
So
to,
his mind Buffalo. For the game, and then you saw it a few years ago how he went Psycho Dorsey in the booth You guys saw that?
Oh yeah.
That's the weird
Scrappy.
fire scrappiness that I like. And we all knew, Dorsey, you can't beat nobody ass.
But he didn't have to.
But he would run out there, right? He would storm the beach because he knew it's almost like Troy. Like if he gets touched, or Spark 300,
Yeah.
if he gets touched, it allows the rest of the army to come, and he knew that, right? He had that in him, man. So yeah, shout out Dorsey, man. He doesn't get his flowers. Great teammate, great guy, still connected. We all in a group chats, and we still chop it up.
So you guys now coming off the win at Michigan, you're looking
Yeah.
at this team and you got to be thinking, oh shit.
Yeah, pretty much like everybody else. It was noted. So like there's an element when you grow up, when you become mature, you just admit, right? When you see who you're about to play, you have like just gentleman's respect for them. You know what I'm saying? So for me, just watching that year, I was watching Willis a whole lot because if you're playing running back, you tend to watch the running backs in the country. And at this time, I think he was averaging like 6 yards a carry. So you're watching that. You're obviously watching Andre Johnson. You obviously know who these guys are on defense. And you've just been watching them from last year. I remember I was in San Antonio at the All-American game in high school, and I had watched them beat Nebraska. So just imagine me like 13 months ago. So about 12 or 13 months ago, I'm in a bus in San Antonio with all these high school kids, watching them like kick their ass like 60-something to 7 or something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm about to play these motherfuckers, right? You know what I'm saying? So for me, it was like, okay, this is who you're about to play. But nonetheless, you know what I mean? You're preparing and you're going through your post rivalry game, which was Michigan, and your preparation. So you're going through your holidays and all of December. But it was just like business as usual. And then it comes to a point that I think like when you play anybody, it's like, we have to play. You know what I'm saying? And so you can have like the admiration, you can have the respect, you can have the fandom. And that's one thing I never really got into. Like I talk a lot of shit when I play sports, but I still respect somebody because I think like it's very dangerous to undermine or underrate people or whatever you say.
Underestimate.
Underestimate. That's the word I'm looking for. When you underestimate people. So I just said that, like, we have to play them at some point. And when you become like just a nerd about football is like, okay, what is a matchup we can do or what look can we get into that we can take advantage of?
Sure.
And that's really it. And so that's like a more of a Jim Tressel thing. Like, okay, nobody was discounting who they had on their team. Like nobody was discounting the defensive line, the linebackers, the defensive backs, and all of the offensive pieces. But it comes down to like, well, what is our competitive advantage and what do we think that we're better at that they're not good at? And so that was like the entire conversation. But as we led up to the game, and that's what I talk about, where you have people or things that prompt guys, right? So before we got on the plane to come to Tempe, and I don't even know if you know the story, but before we got on the plane, we had guys who were from Miami. They went to Dillard, and they went to school down there. And so these guys were showing us these party flyers of like our championship flyers for Miami. And so like I was like, God damn, who the fuck y'all think we are? We ain't even played the game. These motherfuckers are ready to
celebrate. Got a sub shop named and everything.
They said that Willis McGahee was on the flyers. I can't confirm
nor
deny. But what I can confirm is after every national championship or big bowl game, we did throw a party at a strip club.
Yeah. So from these guys going home, so just so the listener would know, after you're done playing in your November rivalry, all the players have an opportunity to go home. So these guys went home back down to South Florida. So as they're home for Thanksgiving or prior to Christmas, they were able to collect the items and say, hey, when I was home, these dudes are planning to throw a party.
Oh, that's interesting.
And
bulletin board material.
Oh,
yeah,
big time.
And so when you're young, I think I'm 41 now, but when you're 18, 19, 20 years old, you're looking for any reason to say, man, fuck this dude. Or any, you look for anything when you're that young just to motivate you or encourage you. But that was it. And so that little small piece is what basically caused coaches to tease us about every play. And so anybody has like, when you have like this underdog moment, everybody wants to be an underdog as this igniter, right?
Yes.
Because like it's a difference when you become like a professional at something. It's just like pursuing excellence, and you have the habits of doing that. Versus when you're younger, you're trying to find whatever you can to energize yourself, just because you don't have enough experience in life to learn how to be the pro. You know what I'm saying? And so for a week, literally, this is the thing that we're teasing each other with these guys have already celebrated victory. These all guys don't think we're shit. And then you know how it goes. You create this narrative in your head just to be competitive, even though they ain't say all that shit.
Yeah.
You just made up all the shit.
Now, I'm gonna be honest. We probably said a lot of shit. So again, a lot of what I'm saying, like, just think about your family, right? We all got that cousin or that uncle who's like, when you hear the story, yeah, he was talking that shit. You know what I mean? Even though collectively as a team, our mindset was here. We had 4 to 5 to 20 guys, right? 4 to 5 to 20 guys that, were overly confident, probably did set up parties, probably did allow their names to get put on flyers. But the reason that they did it was the level of confidence. And that's another thing. It's like I just spoke about Dorsey. For the guys on our team that would go off the reservation and provide individuals with bulletin board material, we have a track record of 30 plus games of backing it up.
Yeah.
Right?
More out of a confidence as
More out of
opposed
the
to
confidence.
a disrespect.
It never came from disrespect, right? Because we weren't even built like that. We were so highly focused. We were such just uber over the top competitive, and a lot of credit that we don't get. We don't get a lot of credit for actually the football minds and the attention to detail that we have. Like a lot of times when people say University of Miami, you just think big, fast, strong athletes, just throw them out there and just watch what they do. No, Ed Reed didn't get all those interceptions in college and then the pros in the Hall of Fame, right? Like Sean Taylor, Jonathan Vilma, all very cerebral. I just think that the names and probably some of the off the field antics and the personalities, outweighed that. But we were a disciplined, very, very extremely cerebral team. But the fact that we had so much talent, a lot of people may have thought that we just showed up on Saturdays and dominated. Our coaching staff, if you look at that run of coaching staff when I was there, those 4 years, I believe 5 or 6 of the coaches on that staff became NFL head coaches.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
So when we dive into best college teams ever, and the margins are very, very close, I start to bring up what we did in the NFL. Then I got to bring up our coaching staff. These are the
all
things
that contributes.
Yeah, these are the things that individuals, don't think about when you get to a close battle. So yeah, it wasn't out of disrespect. It was coming from a place of confidence, and I believe, winning the amount of games that we've won in a row, I believe, the guys on our team that went off the reservation and decided to set up things, they had a right to feel that way.
Yeah, no, I'm not even knocking that. But even as you were talking, one thing I could say is that mentality, like when we first got together a few years ago and started talking, that is the attractive thing when I said, man, Florida has lost its swag with football, right? Yeah. Where it used to be, and this has nothing to do with the game, but something to do about what we're talking about, where like when you played down in Florida, you thought that you were the greatest guys in the world. Guys from Texas thought that they were the greatest guys in the world. And I hadn't traveled to Cali that much to see Cali dudes play football, but we have seen a lot of guys from regional, like guys from Texas, you could see them at a regional camp, or guys from Florida, you would see them. But that was like the allure or the coolness of, if you were good enough, you can get recruited by this team to go play here. You know what I'm saying? Sort of like Alabama is now, Georgia is now, Ohio State is now. And so just for relevance for talking about our game, like we took it as bulletin board material, but if like you're just a kid getting recruited, that's the shit that makes it attractive. Like, we the cool school, we got a bunch of dudes who's athletic, and, we playing football a different way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And just for, because Art Kehoe used to recruit me. You know what I'm saying? Arkeho used to come to Ohio. I mean, he, just for those who don't, I think he was an offensive line coach.
Offensive line coach. He actually played at the University of Miami. Like 60s or 70s, but
but he was recruiting me to come down there and just to say, hey man, you can come down to Miami and play, and so on and so forth. But just that is what breaks that to me. That's what makes culture, and to me, that's almost. And I know we'll get back to the game, but that is what epitomizes, I think, what people love about that era.
Yeah,
you know, what I'm saying, where you have style and swag and. Oh fuck! I'm about to beat you, and then you actually go do the thing. That's what people like. To me, that's what makes college special.
Well, most of America felt the way that the 4, 5, or 20 of your teammates did, because the spread in that game. I don't know if you guys remember this, but it was 11.5 or 12 points, which for the 2002 national championship up through last year's national championship, there's only been one game in that span that had a bigger predicted margin of victory, which was Georgia and TCU. That spread was a couple more points over 12, and Georgia ended up winning 65-7. So a 12-point, favorite, Miami, in the national championship game, that's really unheard of. That's only happened a couple of times. And so now you get to bowl week, and you guys know you're playing each other. You get to Arizona. Mm-hmm. And for people listening, a little different. That game was in Tempe. The Fiesta Bowl, was in Tempe until 2006 when it moved to Glendale. What was that experience like for you guys? Bowl week, Tempe, Arizona.
Oh, well, I'll speak for myself. For me, it was different, and this is very notable for me. So, like any other kid, I'm, getting ready to go out here and practice and play for bowl week. But where it became different for me was that, which was noted, I had one of my closest friends who I grew up with. He ended up basically getting killed, and like the time at the initial time of us basically going out there. And so just with everything going on and thinking about we're getting ready to play a national championship game, somebody who you have known as a kid, and actually somebody that after we beat Michigan, like I'm partying with the entire night and the entire next night. So it was like a fresh 3 or 4 week period. It's like us being here right now, and then 3 or 4 weeks later, this gentleman gets killed. And then when you have that, just like at 19 years old, it's just a lot. You know what I'm saying? And so part of my body was like, hey, man, I want to be here and play this game. But then there's another part where I want to go back home. And so, all this stuff is noted and is documented. But that's a time where I had some conflict with some of the people from the administration where they said I was going to go home. They didn't allow me to go home. And, I made some comments and calling people liars. And I wasn't wrong about calling them liars, but I just didn't know that, from a political standpoint, you shouldn't call your athletic director a liar. So look, I'm just saying, they got me 19, 18 years old out the hood. And if somebody where I'm from is a lying, you're just like, yo, bro, you're lying. And I didn't put the camera in front of my face. Maurice, why are you mad? I'm mad because they lied to me about going home. They're like, shit, you shouldn't have said that. so that ended up consuming me. But after that, it was a moment in time. It was I don't want to say if it was a distracting force. You know what I mean? Like when you're young, you're emotional. You don't like to admit it, but if somebody tells you can't do something or something doesn't go your way, you're really emotional about it. You really don't know how to deal with it. But that was like a thing for a moment in time. But then, it was just typical preparation after that.
DJ, what about you guys? Pretty standard bowl prep week or anything out of the ordinary?
I mean, you got to think about it, right? 12 months prior, we were in the same situation. 24 months prior, we thought we were going to be in the same situation again, playing for the national championship. That was when I remember we had one loss to Washington. I'm speaking about the 2000 season. We had one loss to Washington week 2. We meet Florida State week 5 or 6. Florida State, I think we're both in between 1 and 4. We beat them. We both run the table. We believe we're going to the national championship. We get leapfrogged by Florida State due to the computer. I tell motherfucker Tim Rattay, one of the Rattay brothers, lit our ass up. He went 55 for 74. It was a 4-hour game, and the BCS computer basically didn't acknowledge that win for us because it thought that we should have beat them by more points. So when you get to our game, this is a place that we've been basically 2 years prior. Right. And so what I want to hit on is, okay, now that we know we're playing Ohio State, this is the team that we're playing. right? We're implementing game plans. And as we looked over the game plan, right, if you put this shit down on paper, no chance. Like man for man, and not disrespectful, man for man, no fucking chance. There's one guy. Who's the one guy? Freshman. Maurice Clarett. On magazines and shit, right? Now you start, now on magazines and shit. Hold on. We got Willis McGahee. So, and I had to, before I came here, I reached out to several Hurricanes. I wanted to make sure that like what I was speaking wasn't just how I saw that game, that season, or whatever it was. I reached out to Vilma and I was like, yo, when we played Ohio State and we get into that game, like what was our game plan? I just want to make sure that when I have this conversation that I'm speaking, not just for myself. Stop Clarett. That was it. Stop Clarett. We made it our mission because we saw what they did. We were like, their athletes on the outside ain't going to beat us. Yeah, their offensive line is big and they're maulers, but they do a lot of pulling and shit. They're too fucking slow. But this guy, slasher, built, thighs, legs, ass, not man crusher, but built, had the speed to break away. And we were like, look, we're going to just rally. We're going to show this kid what college football is about. Miami football is about. Like that was our mindset. And then on top of that was we want the country to know who is the best running back in the country. Willis McGahee, Miami Hurricanes. So when we go into that game, from a defense side of the ball, all of our focus was on one individual. Because we didn't believe that the other guys on the offense had enough juice to make enough plays to beat us. And we felt truly in our heart, we stop him, we shut him down, it's easy business.
And that game plan worked for a while. Game comes, kicks off. You guys are not tackling with one guy. I mean, it's three guys to the ball every time he touches it. A couple of times in the backfield. Yeah. And it's super clear hearing you say that that was the focus. Because then you go back now and replay the game in your head. And how many times were you getting just murdered behind the line of scrimmage?
Yeah, it wasn't. It was quite a few times, but he's correct. He was correct in saying that the game plan behind rallying and the game plan behind guys being slow to pull and to wrap around the center into the guard, there was a lot of them just beating us to spots, right? And so if a guard is pulling and he doesn't get a chance to get into his full-fledged and kick out the man he's supposed to kick out or wrap onto a backer, and you beat him or you spill it or you disrupt with your zero technique or your shade with the center, that was a lot that was going on. And so traditionally for people who, don't know what I'm speaking about in regards to running the ball, you typically need the offensive line to develop and the offensive line to either get on the linebacker or get on the defensive line and create some sort of movement or lanes. And as I was getting the ball and when you're seeing people in the backfield or when you're seeing the offensive line collapse or you're not seeing these holes that traditionally have been coming, you're saying to yourself like, yo, fuck, right? And then there was never anything that was like a big hit. You had guys, it's like you say, rallying to the point.
There.
So when you cut and then you cut back and then you're trying, so you're looking for options. You're saying, okay, if he shows his face mask in the hole, I can come back to this second option. If he shows it there, I'm coming back to the third option. But literally it was just collapsing pockets. And so when you start to have these pockets collapsing, it goes to, what are we going to do in the passing game? And literally, we didn't have like a complete passing package because everything was built off a run. Everything was complemented off of what we were running. So, if you're running the ball real well, you go back and do play action, which forces these guys to have to be honest about what they're covering. And then you get a guy who's man on man. And then, hopefully Mike Jenkins or Chris Vance or one of these other guys, beat somebody in man coverage. And so we could never just get the first thing going, you know what I'm saying? But what I can say was that it happened around like the end of the first quarter where our coaching had become like ingenious, right? And you can see it if you go back and watch the game. So they implemented a game plan and they had the talent to basically do so, to pull it off. But this is kudos to our coaching staff. We had went back and they said, hey, man, let's just try something. And Craig Crimsel had never run a quarterback draw. Like we had never
All year.
All year, no, we've never had a
Crazy.
Bullshit.
yeah, and so for people who have no clue of what one of the toughest things to stop is a quarterback. Quarterbacks, their man is the free safety, and so at this time you weren't having run pass options, or you didn't have like outside of Michael Vick or somebody who was like super athletic who was running like the fucking double option. You didn't have quarterbacks who were just taking off. It just wasn't a thing. And so in the middle of the game, they were like, how about you become a lead blocker and basically Craig's going to keep the ball. But we did that knowing that we got no movement. And if the quarterback gets the ball, it's more of like a draw setting. And in a draw, you don't really have a bunch of movement. You just have lanes that get created. And then you'll have a lead blocker who can go through and find a hole. And so what ended up happening was we start running our schemes and using me as the lead blocker. So a lot of people don't know Craig Crimsel was actually the leading rusher of the game. It wasn't me, wasn't Willis. Willis ended up getting hurt. It was the beginning of the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Yeah, Willis ended up getting hurt. So, and he was starting to get his thing going.
Yes, he was.
Going into the fourth quarter. And I think people were just wearing on people, and then he ended up getting hurt. But there wasn't any anything going on. It was really the adjustment from our offensive staff. And then when he would make gashes, we said, man, we don't want to keep on coming back to it immediately, but they're not watching him. So for anybody who goes back, they'll rewatch it different. Craig is getting 5 yards, 6 yards, 7 yards. He's getting gashes to where, me and Willis weren't running the ball and getting 5, 6, and 7 yards. You know what I'm saying? And that was one thing I could say that they didn't adjust to. And I was like, okay, we having success with this. And so that running from Craig helped us to extend the drive. But, in regards to stopping me or stopping my mobility from running the ball. Like I had a good run, maybe 2 or 3 good runs, but after that, it was just, you fighting for scraps.
And I want to add to that and kind of give the overview from a defense perspective about that, right? So again, our game plan was to stop him. We stop him, right? You got Jenkins, you got Gamble. They might try to go deep. Gamble got some speed on him. Jenkins got some size, might box a few guys out. Tight end, we're not even worried about him, right? And there's one play where you're talking about jumping in the hole. Yeah, there were not a lot of big hits on him, but we were filling gaps. And there was one play where I remember Maurice got the ball. I showed up. He hop out. Vilma show up.
Yeah.
Then he kind of goes down and he gets tackled. And I remember he got up and he says, man, you can see it on the TV copy. He goes, man, this motherfucker's too fast.
Yeah.
And right there is like, okay, we got him, right? My mind said, okay, we got him, right? We broke the young guy. Well, they start to implement this new play. Next thing I know, I got a guy biting at my ankle, right? And that's fucked up, dog. You try to take a nigga knee out 3-4 times, right? And so historically, quarterbacks have always been able to run on us. The reason is we play 2-man, right? Which means our 2 safeties are usually 15, 20 yards deep. Nobody was really ever going over the top of us, right? So when you have that 2-man, it takes forever for that safety to come down. And fill that gap.
Yeah.
So what was happening to us was not new. Were we prepared for it? No. It's one of those things that, and you guys did a great job of not overusing it. But when you go back and look, Crimsel had 19 carries. So you motherfuckers did overuse it. Right? You motherfuckers did overuse it. But in our mind, big, stocky, slow quarterback getting 4 or 5 yards here ain't going to beat us. Right? Because we always had that, I don't even want to say bend but don't break. But, defense always say, hey, make the offense go the long, hard way, and they'll make a mistake. And so when you go back and look at that game, right, that was the chess match that was being played between the offense and defensive coordinators. And, I'm not going to put it on Miami's coordinator and say we should have made those adjustments because, again, what was happening to us has always happened in the past.
But you overcame.
What's that? Yeah, we always overcame it, right? It's happened to us in the past. And, again, if you tell me right now that Maurice Clarett has under 50 yards rushing and their quarterback runs the ball 19 times, we don't win the game, we'll take that all day.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, well, we'll take that all game. But it was just, I go back and I look at that game, and when you're playing it, you're only playing from the defensive side of the ball. When you go back and you look at that game, it was a lot more balanced than I thought from the big playmaking on both defenses. From an offensive side of the ball with with Miami, from us, it was weird because either a play looked like a fucking Miami play or it didn't. And what I mean by that is, Winslow, get it, catch, boom, get down, make a guy miss, boom. And then the next play would be some shit that, Dorsey, you've never done this in your life. There's a pivotal moment in the game, I remember, where it's a third down. Willis catches the ball on a swing route. He has open grass to get the first down, and he tries to stop and spin in and falls 1 yard short.
Short, yeah.
There were a lot of moments, there were a lot of moments that were just like, that is not a University of Miami play, right? But again, the chess match that was being played, and I tell everybody, Crenzo is one of the toughest dudes. Listen.
Smacking the shit out of him.
Listen, go back.
Yes.
Go back and look at that game.
Yes.
Watching overtime with almost at the 3 or 4 yard line. Vilma hits him with nothing but his bull ring on his helmet. And Sean get him in the stomach. It's one of those plays where it's like, I think he threw up in his mouth, right? I remember guys picking him back up, getting him back in the huddle, and the guy was indestructible. He just kept getting up, man. So kudos to him. That was a great adjustment that happened, right? We thought shutting this guy down would mean victory, but as the game goes on, you start to see a lot of plays that he made as well.
For sure.
Well, I will, to that point, I don't know where you're going with this, but it did bring up a thought. But as you go back and you watch the game, so like him, like when he's playing defense, and then you go sit down so you don't get a chance to see the other side of the ball. But one thing that, as I looked at it again at 41, where the flag became less relevant of like how the game got won, I didn't realize y'all turned the ball over that much.
Yeah, 5 times.
Yes, and so I don't know how the fuck I didn't think about it during the game. But I was like, man, I didn't realize that they turned the ball over that much. And when you're talking about giving short fields and what converts into a touchdown or scores, or just putting you in a position where you have to use a longer field. And this is just me talking, just knowing a whole lot more football or just know. I was like, man, this game was a lot different. And then when you look at just the battles, right? And I'm talking about where there wasn't anything. And I'm talking about with the offensive line and the defensive line. I looked at how different I view that now, just understanding that's where all games are won and lost. And so when I had looked at our defensive line versus their offensive line, and then their defensive line versus our offensive line, I was like, man, the game was kind of won and stuff here. Like we can go to different plays that were made, and we can go to the flag, but like I'm pretty sure you would have a different perspective if you got linemen here on both sides of the ball, and they started to talk about what went on, because all of that to me is what made everything else either be bad for me running the ball or vice versa. You know what I'm saying? Where you have these plays that's being influenced from a lack of blocking, and pocket gets broken, you throw it up in the air. But for me, I don't think people realize how many fucking turnovers that Miami had that I didn't realize. And I was like, man, these dudes gave us the ball that many times. And then if you go from a stat standpoint, when you say, and I'm pretty sure every college locker room has them, where they say, the keys to victory are your winning percentages. Like if we don't turn the ball over, if we get 100 yards, if we, win the special teams battle, the hitting yards battle, we'll have a percentage chance of winning. And so that's where I looked at it, where I was like, out of everything from watching that game, I was surprised at how many turnovers that y'all had.
You guys controlled the clock too for about 20 more minutes. 20 more minutes than us. And again, gotta tip my hat off to you guys' defensive line. The stats show it, right? Like if you look at how many times Dorsey had been sacked or under pressure, under duress prior to that, and I think, that played a lot into some of like his ill-advised interceptions and throws, right? Like they were able to get to Dorsey early on, right? Willis wasn't able to get going early on in the game. And what surprised me was it wasn't like schematics. It wasn't overload to this side, twisting and guys wrapping around. I mean, you got fucking Kenny Peterson with the fucking neck roll, the fucking, you know what I mean, just here, just fucking bulldogging and running through guys in the first half of the game. And I think that played a lot into Dorsey, right? He got touched more in the first half of that game probably than he probably got touched in the last 2 seasons.
Yeah.
Whether he got sacked but was under duress, right? And so I got to tip my hat off to the defensive line. And look, Kenny Peterson ended up getting drafted, and he ended up coming to Denver and playing with me. So you know what I'm saying? Not only did you guys, take my ring, now
Got to see him.
I'm seeing him every day, and now he's one of my D tackles. And, I'm having to relive that moment all the time. He's talking shit and he's talking trash. And I had to go back and look at the game because I'm like, man, shut up. And I had to go back and look at the game. I was like, damn, I got to give you your respect, KP. You really did go out there and ball out. Like, you did your thing, man. But there's several moments in the game where we go up by 7. Sean T intercepts the ball around midfield. Game is over.
Yeah.
That's usually a University of Miami. The game is over. Start playing the band, right? But there was just these key moments. And at that time, again, we never panicked because we were always confident we were going to win. So that's what was weird about it. It was like sneaking up on us. These little quarterback runs, not us taking advantage of opportunities here and there, right?
Yeah.
Oh, they did get one over the top. And now that I look back at it, I felt like we probably could have had more sense of urgency on some shit. Like, yo. This ain't playing out the way we think it's supposed to be playing out, right? We're supposed to be up right now by 21 points. And I think if you get caught up in the game plan, I think if there was that type of reset, there could have been a different outcome that could have happened. But for us, it was like, we're going to just keep to the game plan, continue chopping wood, and we're going to prevail.
Yep. Going to halftime, I think it was 14-7 at the half.
Yeah.
Ohio State comes out, kicks a early field goal in the third quarter to go up 17-7. At that point, does the kind of the oh shit set in? Because you guys probably hadn't faced that in the last 2 years, down 10 points in a game, let alone one of this magnitude.
Well, let's talk about how we got to the 17-7,
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
Like, again, our game plan was to shut this guy down. This little kid, he don't fucking know. Great, put him on the cover. He don't know. Right? See, we wear our gold teeth this game and really showing what it's like. He don't know. And that just shows his greatness, right? Because you guys are around the 10-yard line.
Yep.
Right? You're about to go in and go up. Sean T picks the ball off. 10-point swing because Andrew Williams decleats Krenzel. This day and age, he'd probably get kicked out the way you hit a quarterback. Sean has clear daylight. This is going to be a 106-yard touchdown.
Interception. Yep.
Interception for 106 yards, right? Not only does my guy run and hustle, he has the fucking smarts to actually go for the ball. And so you look at moments like that in the game, and again, like when an individual has greatness inside them, they're going to figure out a way to affect the game, right? And to me, right there, that was one of those plays because that's a 10-point swing. If Maurice doesn't hustle, then doesn't have the smarts to rip the ball away, right? We are now looking at a 14 to 14-point game. Right?
With momentum.
With momentum back in,
Yeah.
right? Because all we need is business as usual, right? But what happens? No, he strips the ball. You guys get the ball back. You guys kick the field goal, and now it is 17-7. A very uncomfortable position for us, considering I can't remember too many games that in my career at the University of Miami where I've ever trailed like that. Let alone in a situation where we felt like if we stopped their number one guy, it was going to be easy for us.
In your, during your freshman year, that play has to be the one that sticks out. I would assume.
I tell him, and I told DJ when we reconnected a few years ago, I probably talk about Sean Taylor just as much as I talked about, or just as much as anybody in Miami talks about him. There's people don't really remember me for running the football. They don't remember the essence of that year. But the fact that that was a championship year, people always talk about that play. So I'm going to talk about that play 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times a week. And then it feels weird. It just feels weird. Like it just feels weird talking about it sometimes, just because of his situation, what happened with him. But I talk about that play. I'm gonna probably memorize for that play more than anything else.
Yeah, I can't count on two hands the number of times we've been out somewhere in Columbus, and that's the people that come out of their way. They say, "Hi, glad to see how you're doing," and I remember that play like it was yesterday. I mean, it's daily. When we're out, somebody says something.
No, but it's two things. Like here's a funny part. So before this play, we come to the huddle, and Craig Krenzel and Ben Hartsock are roommates.
Yeah,
and so he's like, "Yo,
oh, he's trying to get his guy one."
He's like, "Yo, I'm walking in the huddle." He's like, "Yo, could you throw me a challenge?"
Wait, he asked for the ball? Oh.
He was like, "Yo, throw me a challenge." So you have to remind you, like, nobody pays attention to the tight end.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, the tight end is typically like third or fourth person in the progression. Like, nobody's paying attention to him. Like, you'll pay attention on goal line because that's that's the quickest pass that you can make. But typically, we're not even thinking about that somebody's going to pay this thing any attention. So when I heard it, I'm like, okay, like, let me just get to the edge. The ball will be out. We'll score a touchdown. And just taking it for granted. And literally, if you go back and watch the film, that's like why I'm like haphazardly going to block the edge, because I'm thinking like the ball's going to be out. And this is what happened. I heard the noise before I even heard anything. Like the crowd, it wasn't cheering. It was like, yes, like this shit going the other direction. You know what I'm saying? So, and I just like, and just, I can say this, man. People think that practicing becomes mundane at a certain point, but we will, you practice hustle drills and cone drills, pursuit drills, right? So we used to do pursuit drills in high school, but we used to do them for conditioning. And, once somebody takes off, you have to have the right angle to stop them. And so in my mind, it went from, and I could, like, sometimes when I talk to people about pursuit drill, they'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about? But it's a drill literally where you have people, somebody will get the ball, and then there's different cones that you have to take off and basically go run to time somebody when you're going to cut them off. And so in my mind, I was going to do a pursuit drill just to stop him. But then I realized he had the ball in the wrong hand.
Yeah.
And
he probably had that like that because he didn't think anybody was a threat. Nobody was going to catch
But
him.
I'm going to give you the second thing. You know why I stopped wearing a visor? Because you can't really have depth perception out your peripherals.
Uh-huh.
And so when he had his visor on, I knew for a fact right there, I was like, he don't see me. So if you go back and watch the film, he's not even aware that I'm that close.
Yes.
And so that's why he has the ball in the wrong hand, because if you're a running back, ball goes towards the sideline, towards the outside arm. And then when I got close, I was like, okay, somebody get their arm right here, ball gone.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then from there, Vilma had picked me up and dumped me on my neck, and I ended up jamming my neck. But even when I fell to the ground with the ball, I was like, I don't know if they're going to say I had full possession of it. You know what I'm saying? But I got up and was like, okay, I got the ball, and then I started jogging back. But this literally, to me, that play was more, a fan may see, when you run into play in the game, you're just mechanically going through the process.
Yeah.
You making reads, it's more like when you say cerebral, this is what they lined up to, this is what I got to adjust to, this is who I'm about to tackle. If he does this, I'm doing that. Like you're calculating all this information ahead. And if you have good coaching, you've been in a bunch of different situations that say, hey, I'm prepared for this. Good coaching is going to give you a toolkit to adapt to whatever the fuck you have going on. So it was more of that. And so fans remember, for one thing, I remember more of the mechanical part of like, okay, pursuit, he has the ball in the wrong arm. Okay, let me get the ball. So, and just being competitive, you know what I'm saying? And so that it was just that. It wasn't like some fucking deep thought.
Yeah.
Like, let me go grab this.
Obviously, looking at your shirt, the flag is still discussed, right?
Yes.
Down in South Florida, the flag is a thing. Were there any other plays in that game? Because he brought up a good point, and when you watch it on TV, replays aren't today like they were then, all right? And so when he comes down, did you have possession? Did you not? There's a couple of other plays in the game that kind of could have gone both ways, and if you had high def, super slow-mo. So the flag is a thing, right? And it's still discussed. Are there any other plays in the game that you felt could have gone one way or another that maybe maybe this is an example of it where did he really have possession? Were there any other questionable calls that could have impacted the outcome of the game in your mind?
Of course. And I'll say other plays and I'll hit on, one or two that had nothing to do with the refs, just pure execution. So when Maurice talks about, repping things in practice to where they're second nature, and, when you're an 18, 19-year-old kid and you don't understand why your coach is dog cussing you out because you did a coverage wrong, let's go to the 4th and 14 where they hit Jenkins on the comeback.
Yeah.
Earlier I said that we are a two-man team, which means that our corners get aggressive, let the receiver get on top, we trail underneath. We probably had the best safety that ever existed for a two-man. 6'3", 230 pound, can run a 4.3, 10-4, 100-meter Sean Taylor back there. All you have to do, stay underneath, have the quarterback throw the ball over top. Two things are going to happen. It's going to get an interception,
correct,
or Sean's going to knock him out, right? That's one play. That's one play I clearly see. It's 4th and 14. We don't even get to the flag play.
Yes.
We don't. That's why coaches harp and dog cuss you out over the little things. And again, it's a team game. There are more than one play where that happened. But again, we had the perfect coverage called for the perfect play, and we got the perfect guy to make the play, right? We didn't execute that. Again, I brought up the third down with Willis, right? Nothing negative that Willis done, because in hindsight, I know Willis, and that's kind of our mentality. It's not get the ball, dive and get this first down. I'm about to get busy. I'm about to cut back, get busy.
Go get some yards.
4.2 speed. Up the field, I'm gone, right? Another play is, again, just the run-in of Krenzel. Like, I didn't know how many times he ran the ball. And I didn't know that, that 3-4 yards in a cloud of dust. Right?
Yeah.
3-4 yards in a cloud of dust was going to be that effective, because it did. It continued to keep drives going. Mm-hmm. So when we look back at the play, when we look back at the game, of course the flag played a pivotal moment, because at the end of the day, we both made good plays and bad plays on each side of the ball. So it did affect the outcome. But there were several things that happened throughout the game where maybe we would have never even got to that play.
Sure. I think one of those plays might have been, I think it was a 3rd down and long to, I can't remember if it was Gamble or Jenkins.
I think it was Gamble.
Running a comeback.
It was like a
was it a catch? Was it not a catch?
Oh,
that was
okay.
Gamble. That was Chris Gamble.
That was
so
Gamble.
you talking about the one where it was supposed to be a catch?
Yes.
Yeah, it should have been a catch.
Yeah.
And so you go back and forth if you're an Ohio State fan or a Miami fan, and the flag, and if you're looking at it from I'd say a Buckeyes lens, it would be that probably could have, maybe should have been a catch. If it is, there's like 2 minutes and 10 seconds left, and is really Ohio State with a 7-point lead at that point, just gonna, or a 3-point lead,
3-point lead, because they got back
run,
to
a 3-point lead, run the clock out, and would the flag have ever even existed, right? Would that overtime never would have been there? So when I rewatched that game, I just thought, man, I know how this game ends, and it is still a great football game. Mm-hmm. Even knowing where it's going to end up, it's still an unbelievable game to watch as a fan watching it either in the stands or on TV. But what about you? Are there back and forth plays that you're thinking, boy, I'm sure lucky it went this way, or glad it didn't?
There's two things I wanted to say. One is very dangerous. It's very dangerous to have people. So we started the game off as underdogs.
Yeah.
Right? It is a very dangerous thing to get guys who may have been, I don't want to call teammates unsure, because that's not fair, but unsure of themselves. It's a very dangerous thing when an opposing team lets you think like, oh, this isn't as bad as I thought it was. Mm-hmm. And I'll get to what you're talking about from our play, but I did want to say that earlier, because I remember going into the locker room and where guys were nervous before the game, guys were like, "Oh, we can beat these dudes."
At halftime, is that's the mentality that changed?
Yeah.
Okay.
So before it's like, because at the top of the game, you don't know what's going to happen. You're watching TV and ESPN like everything else. You looking at the line like everything else. And you'll have a couple guys here or there who've played against these guys from Florida, and you'll have a couple guys who just have played a bunch of college football. But for the mass majority, like they just don't know. But then when you see them come and feel like, hey, we can play, that gives a different approach to what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? And so I did want to say that because like you could take this, like, and I'm doing this on purpose because you'll have coaches watch stuff, you'll have people clip stuff, but just the importance that if somebody believes that they can't win, you should do everything to do to choke them out early to say, 100%. Hey, you're right, you can't win. Like I want to, you know what I'm saying? Like if,
and I'll add to that, right? So when we go, when Todd Severs kicks the field goal to tie it up when we go into overtime, fans, go back and look at the energy. I looked at it this morning, and it felt like from Miami, it was like, come on, bro, let's do what we were supposed to do. Let's put this shit away.
Yep.
And I saw a flip side, like, it's almost like we let go of the rope. Yeah. And if you look at that that overtime drive,
1,000%
for Miami, it was clockwork. Pow, 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 score.
Real quick, yeah,
touchdown.
Yeah,
right, and then
momentum.
You flip it. It was, you can just see how the quarterback walk out. Like there's little nuances in games, right? You start seeing Vilma do this shit here. Right, like,
yeah, but this is sport.
But that's what. So that's what I'm saying.
Sport.
It went back and forth like a pendulum. We were supposed to put y'all to sleep, gave y'all life. Y'all supposed to put us down, gave us life. Now we're in overtime, and coaches on the sideline, they're telling you, hey, the only point that matters right now is the game right now. And again, we're still uber confident about who we are and what we're going to do. And we're looking on the other sideline, and we're feeling like reality might set in. Like they let us off the hook. We let you off the hook. You let us. It's going back and forth, right?
Yeah.
And it is like when you have that opportunity, and they use analogies like put your foot on their neck and things like that. You really have to do it, right? And you see sometimes when you don't take advantage of those opportunities, you let go of the rope too much and it slips out of your hand.
But like this is the point. I know we were talking the other day about like the epitome of sport, where you giving it your best, you fuck up here, they fuck up there, you fuck up here, they fuck up there, but you fighting to the end. But that's the epitome of sports. That's why I don't like the cheating shit. Like fuck the cheating shit. This is what it's really supposed to be about. Two people fighting, two people trying to gain momentum. Like to me, that's what epitomizes college football. That's what epitomizes sport. That's what. When you're tired of shit and you fucking sweating and shit isn't going right for you. I'm pretty sure if Willis sat right here, he'd be like, man, shit wasn't going right for me. And how do you adjust to that? Or you talk about Ken Dorsey, shit isn't going right for me. How do I adjust to that? I'm getting hit more than normal. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like just the ability to readjust and get your mind back to a place to say, hey man, let me finish this thing right. Like that's sport to me. You know what I'm saying? Like knowing the shit you about to call and cheating and all this other bullshit, that's not sports, bro.
Yeah.
So that's not sports. Like the fact that we can even have this conversation 20 years later, and like you may be talking about if you had replays and you can replay stuff, like then maybe a lot of the game may have turned out different. We might not even be talking about the flag. It just may be a holding penalty here, just something.
Yeah.
Because
there's always going to be something. Yeah.
Technology would have made it different, but like even as he was describing that moment, that's like something with pride that it was kids playing and fighting against each other to try to do something. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
But in regards to plays, like the only other thing that I remember thinking back, I remember Kellen Winslow having so much success, right? And I used to say to myself, I'm like, that's probably, and this is no offense to whatever linebacker was watching him, but it's a matchup thing.
We couldn't guard him.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
We couldn't guard him.
Yeah, this dude is, he's like, he was phenomenal. You know what I'm saying? And so you're asking yourself, and I don't have any place for us because we couldn't, and this is no offense to our linemen, but you're playing against first rounders, so it's not like you're playing fucking Joe Schmoes, right? And, it just is what it is. These guys kicking our ass, they kicking my ass, they kicking everybody's ass. And, you had some catches here and there from Vilma. So there wasn't a whole lot that we were going through on offense. From defense, I can't speak to it because I don't know what scheme they drew up and who didn't rush or who didn't blitz or, I'm saying, just shit like that I just don't know about. But it was just these couple moments where I was like, had they went to the well a little bit more with Kellen Winslow, that's your competitive advantage. Like, nobody's about to watch this motherfucker one-on-one. You know what I'm saying? So you can jump into some different sets and just feed him the ball. I also didn't notice, I remember, like, it's just moments from the game that I remember. I didn't realize that Roscoe had fumbled the ball on the pass, right? So they had made like a probably 30, 40-yard pass.
That was another momentum swing.
But they're down by like the 10-yard line, 20-yard line, somewhere within there. But I didn't realize that, if that doesn't happen, like they go in and turnovers, you know what I'm saying? Turnovers will lose you game. And then the big punt return the next series, like
where he took it to the 20.
Yeah, but he talks about plays that look Miami-esque. That was a play that looked like Miami-esque, like big play, explosive plays. Like, in football, they tell you limit the number of explosive plays teams have. But that was a play I was like, damn, it's just one that stuck out in my mind. But when you look back at it, man, it was just it was a phenomenal game up until, we got into halftime. But to his point, if you look at the first overtime where they had went and kicked the field goal to tie the game in regulation, then they go into the first series, these motherfuckers motor down the field. And I was like, man, fuck. Like, we have nothing working. You know what I'm saying? And so when you're on the 20, like, it's only so long that you can get that quarterback sneak shit off. So there's no deep threat. So safeties, their heels might be at the fucking goal line or they might be on the 5. You know what I'm saying? So the ability to close the gap to stop the only thing that's been working, like, that shit was out the gate. So to progressively go through, and I want people to go watch it. And there's games on YouTube without commercials so they can watch it relatively fast. But, that first series where that play you talk about where Sean Taylor should have been under the route. Yep. Where Mike Jenkins get extended.
Sean was been on top, the corner underneath.
The corner should have been underneath.
Yeah.
So, but that was the first fourth down that got extended. So the game could have been over right there, right? Yep. So then we go down to the other fourth down. Then the fourth down that he's talking about is the flag, and then the game ended temporarily, and then we basically came back and you got life again. But I'm pretty sure from a momentum standpoint, if you're jumping around and thinking you won the game, you're consumed with, motherfucker, we won the game.
100%.
You know what I'm saying? So like there's like this nuanced shit where, like, how somebody like gets worried about shit that ain't like, and I'll say this to all Miami people. If you are on the other end of the thing, it's not just gonna be like, hey, ref, like, put that flag back in your pocket. like, it's not like, what the fuck do you want me to do? Ref, like, hey, man, I just don't want to extend
I feel a lot better about it if you picked it up.
Yeah, like, so I'm like, we going back out here to play. Yeah. Like, they gave us life, you know what I'm saying? But they'll say, hey, man, Terry Porter, and Terry Porter's a ref for anybody who doesn't know. They'll get mad at me as if, like, I'm Terry Porter.
Hey, but explain that picture that I saw you at a barbecue with him.
Oh, yeah.
Explain that picture. Explain that picture.
His arm around him.
So,
thanks, Terry.
He got a ring.
Yeah, I'm like, because so here's a funny thing about it. You know where I probably talk about this most? I would venture to bet when I go to Orlando, I have more people who are fathers, right, who come from our era. I will be in Orlando and I talk more about Miami football at fucking Disney World than anywhere else. And because these dudes have kids, we all come from the same era, and they'll be out and about, and they'll be like, man, what the fuck you doing down here? Yeah. so whenever I go to Florida, it is the ongoing conversation over the last, I don't know, fucking 10, 15 years, as much as I've been going down. But I'll be sitting there, hey, man, you know I want no flag in the national championship game.
Well, I mean, the fact that you two are both sitting here and we've dug into the game. We've talked about momentum swings and who was favored. We started with a video watching the flag.
I mean, listen,
we haven't addressed the flag. And I don't know who wants to flip a coin and go first, but I'd love to hear your takes on what happened.
Would you like me to go first? Or would you
You go ahead and go first, man, because you know what I'm gonna say is gonna be very quick.
Okay. So I would just like to start off by saying, if we pull the film up and we pull the rule book out and we just use the guidance of the rules, that's what we're going to use. We're going to use the guidance of the rules.
You already know. Listen, hold on. I came here to have an open and honest conversation. Right? That's why I came here, right? After an hour, don't start Pythagorean theory and getting me shit out the rule book, man. Go ahead.
Listen to me. I told Brian this the other day. I said I have not watched this play literally in 20 years. I have not watched this play. Me at 41, I'm looking directly into the camera. Brother Williams is right to the right of me, and we have a great rapport, a great relationship, but I'm going to be honest. When I looked at it, I said, you can't touch a guy within 5 yards. And you have to play the ball when the ball is in the air. And if we just use those two pieces of guidance when you're talking about what is and isn't pass interference, this is not a subjective opinion. This is an objective thing. The gentleman he basically, at the beginning of the route, he's holding him. And then as he's trying to get open, he's holding him again. And as the ball is in the air, he's face guarding the defender. Now, I love my guys from Miami. Listen to me, when my first son was born, I was laughing and joking on the phone with DJ and Jonathan Vilma. You remember that? I had a FaceTime, right?
Yeah.
To show you the love and the respect and admiration I have for these guys. But I say, if we're going to be honest with each other, it's a penalty. And I think the fact that the fireworks went off and they ran onto the field, I think that's why we're here talking about it. So from my vantage point, and that's like my proof or my premise to how we've built the conclusion as to what happened, I'm going to say it's a flag. And that's my opinion. And I know I'm going to get killed by Hurricane fans because they're going to say, fuck you, Mo. We was friends before that. I started to like you because it is what it is, but fuck you now. I still love y'all, but that's just my opinion. Brother Williams?
1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi.
So,
That's it. Go back, watch the game, and see how many Mississippis or alligators you can count.
Okay.
Right? So, make the decision.
Okay. So he says make the decision. I will say that he didn't answer the question.
Was it a penalty?
Yes.
No.
Okay. All right.
Here it is. First of all, right, where was the ball at on the yard line? So we can look that up, and we can talk about that. We can talk about that 5 yards of touching interference. Go back and look at the play. What happens is the ball hits Chris Gamble, bounces off his chest. Then our defender comes up and wraps his arm around him.
Hold it. Hey, Will is the producer. I want you to play DJ's voice and the video at the same time, to see if they sync together.
Please. What happens is he gets jammed, the contact, you're allowed contact, right? Are we doing 5 yards and 2 inches? I got it. There was contact early on in the play.
Which would have been holding.
No, it's not.
Well, no. But they called pass interference.
But
so that wasn't
where you're allowed to jam and
within 5 yards. Yes,
within 5 yards.
Yes,
yeah. Totally, I believe we were within that area, right? Give or take an inch or two.
So we got film that we're gonna pull up. So we don't have to say we believe. We can do it facts.
Again. I'll say this again. Our DB is falling. Gamble's up in the air. Ball hits him square in the chest. Bounces off his left breastplate. Then our defender comes and wraps around him while he's still falling. He wasn't even in position.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Mr. Williams, we were good friends. When the ball is thrown in the air and the defender is guarding the receiver.
He's not touching him when the ball's in the air.
No. Okay, but if the ball is being thrown to me, I just want to make sure I'm correct with the rules so I don't give bad information. is the defender who is guarding the gentleman who's getting ready to catch the ball, is he allowed to just face guard me?
No, but he was behind. He was behind. He wasn't. Gamble was up. It wasn't a face guard like this. He was actually falling, trying to come back into the play.
No, okay. So if we didn't have licensing issues with video, the video would be up here and we'll be talking about it.
But they're going to be able to go watch it themselves.
They'll be able to go watch it. But we didn't want to try to pixelate or put a video. You know what we can do? We can do this for IG.
Yes.
We can definitely edit in the video
and
for IG.
We'll have a vote.
Look, there we go.
The only problem about it here, the problem about that is Ohio State has 65,000 students. The University of Miami has 7,000 undergrad, 13,000 total undergrad and grad. So you just look at the alumni base. I kind of know how this vote is going to go.
Hey.
Oh, there's a lot of U of M fans that follow him too.
Let me just say,
I don't care what they see; they're voting Miami.
No, yeah. So I'll say two things. The two things I'm hanging my hat on is the contact after 5 yards, and you can't face guard a receiver when the ball is in the air. You have to play the ball. Those are just the two things. And so if I can be proven wrong or my memory serves me incorrectly, I would apologize and say, hey, brother, I think that you all have that right. But when I remember watching the video, which it wasn't that too long ago,
this is crazy.
I called him up. I said, yo, B. I said, yo, B, and Brian's my business partner, my guy, my homeboy. I said, I love DJ, but I don't think we seeing this the same way. And I said, the stuff that I see on TV, if it had any jersey on it, this would be a foul. Or I said a foul, this would be a flag. You know what I'm saying? So that's all I was saying. And I just want to know, when the defenders say, when they asked me, they said, what is Maurice Clarett basing his point off of? I'm saying that the receiver went more than 5 yards, and you can't have contact after 5 yards. That's one. And I'm saying as the ball is going in the air to the wide receiver, that you can't face guard. You have to play the ball. You have to position yourself to bat the ball down. That's all I'm saying.
And I'll close it with this.
You can close.
Again, over the last year or so, I've watched the game 10 plus times, and what I will say is it was such an amazing game from both sides, right? No matter the underdog, what the point spread was, right? Players, coaches, everybody went out there and battled. Guys made plays, guys didn't make plays. It's just unfortunate, right? It's unfortunate that this conversation has to be had, and that the conversation wasn't about the young men on the field and what they did, right?
I can agree with that.
Whether it went my way, whether it went Miami's way or Ohio State way, like, I truly believe it is, I would say, from the players that were on the field, from the impact that it had negatively and positively for both universities, I do believe that it is one of the greatest national championship games. And yes, I give Ohio State respect, because if you look at that game, even with the 5 turnovers, the double overtime, Mo's godfather, Terry Porter. You didn't see. That's another thing. You talked about you was on the phone with me and Vilma and this and that. I saw the picture you posted. It was you and Terry Porter, right? It showed how great our team was to go through all of that adversity and be able to be in that position. But then it also showed how great Ohio State was to come in, with nobody in the country giving them a chance to be victorious. And what Mo said earlier is that's the great thing about sports, right? Is you go into an arena with your guys, you prepare, right? Hard hat, lunch pail, and you get ready to go to war. And it's tough. That's the beauty about sports.
Yes.
Sports at the highest level is hard. It's hard. And so that's why when you do come out victorious, it's so sweet. But again, one of the top games ever in the national championship era. And, 20 plus years later, you know, I never thought I'd be sitting here with a great relationship with my guy. I flew out here. I thought he was going to be open and honest, but, you know, this is probably one of those situations, you know, when we're 75 years old, you know, his affiliation with Ohio State ain't the same. Hey, man, it wasn't no goddamn flag.
I think it's a great spot to end. You guys were both awesome with this, and DJ, like, just kudos to you for getting on a plane and coming up to Columbus to do this and talking about something that we're having a lot of fun with it, but, you know, brings up, I'm sure, different memories. And you've just been awesome up here the last 2 days and so much fun to get to know. So I want to thank you for doing that, because I think a lot of people might avoid it or do a little Zoom. And man, you were just so much fun to get up here and hang out with. So
yeah, I do want to say this before we go. I don't want to talk about this like this is just a one and done conversation. We're going to be together all season talking about the banter between us, but also college football, sports, and pop culture in general. So this is just the inaugural. Fuck, I almost fucked that word up. This is just the inaugural episode